Welcome to my channel. My name is Ria and today we're going to talk about the full moon happening in the sign of Gemini. So full moons are when the sun and the moon are in opposition. They're opposing each other. That's the sun, 4 degrees of Sag, and that's the moon, 4 degrees of Gemini. So this is a full moon. Full moons represent endings. They represent a point of emotional release, a point where something completes itself, right? So these are the basic significations of a full moon. Now this one's in the sign of Gemini. Gemini, generally speaking, represents communication. It represents our thinking, our thoughts. It represents our immediate environment, what our office is like, what our home environment is like. It represents siblings as well. It represents short distance travel. So generally speaking, these themes can be highlighted of communication, short distance travel, maybe something to do with our immediate environment. Maybe we are changing something around in terms of furniture, that sort of thing. More importantly, look for Gemini, look for 4 degrees of Gemini in your chart. That particular house is where these energies will be impacting you. So if you don't know your charts, that's also okay, right? So let's talk about some of the aspects that are going on with this full moon energy, because the aspects will impact the energy of this moon. Now, the first aspect I want to speak about is the fact that this moon is in a square with Saturn, right? This right here is Saturn. Saturn's at 0 degrees right now, 0 degrees of Pisces. It was at this placement around March, April of this year. So it's back at that placement now. And if you look at the chart, Saturn is not just squaring the moon, it is squaring the sun as well, right? 90-degree angle with both the sun and the moon. And Saturn is a planet of decisions. It's a serious planet. It's about planning. It's about planning for the long run. It's about commitment. It's about being serious about things, right? So with an aspect like this could mean decisions, this could mean commitments, this could mean that we feel restrictive or limited as well. And if you look closely, Saturn is at 0 right now, but the sun and the moon are at 4, right? So the square to Saturn has already happened by the time we reach this full moon. So what that means is the past few days, past 5-6 days, the sun built up its square to Saturn, and the moon in the past few hours before this full moon would have built up its square to Saturn. So that commitment, that decision, that restrictive feeling, maybe feeling a little lower than usual, feeling a little, not the best. That's been a build up up until now. It's been a build up of 4-5 days, right? Because the sun did square Saturn and now it's at that full moon point where it is squaring Saturn, but the peak of the energy is kind of done with. By the time we reach to this full moon, we might have decided something, we might have committed to something, we might have approached things a little seriously, or we may just have had this sense of feeling restricted or limited, or not being completely in our full potential, you can say, maybe, right, as we've built up to this full moon. So that's the first thing I wanted to speak about. And the second thing I want to talk about is Mars, because if you look at the chart, Mars is sitting next to the sun, it is opposing the moon, and it just squared Saturn as well as we built up to this full moon energy over the past few days, right? So let's talk about the Mars-Saturn square that's been going on for the past few days, with which we have built up to this full moon energy. Mars is action, it's initiative, it's aggression, it's getting things done, right? Mars doesn't think things through. Mars is great at getting things done, but maybe not so great at thinking of the consequences. It's impulsive, it can be aggressive. So these are basic Martian traits. And Saturn, like I said, is restrictive, it's limiting, it's slow. Mars is fast, right? And with a square 90-degree angle, this can feel like this energy of push and pull, right? Wanting to move forward, something holding us back, wanting to just get things done, but Saturn saying, hey, think it through, right? So it's this frustrating sort of energy where we are ready to go, but then something's holding us back. We're ready to go where something is saying not yet, right? Where we might be saying we're ready, but something else from the outside is saying no. There's something that needs to be thought out. That's something that needs to be planned. There's something that needs to be looked at. So we've built up to this moon with this energy of maybe feeling limited, maybe feeling like this, wanting to go, something holding us back. And by the time we've reached this full moon, it's also peaked and done with. Now it's on the decline, right? So that's what I wanted to speak about. But this moon is in an opposition with Mars as well. And it did oppose Mars a little while before this full moon, right? Before it hit 4 degrees. And the moon is our emotional body. It's our emotional reaction, emotional response to things. And Mars is an aggressive energy, right? So what this can do is it can make us feel angry. It can make us feel frustrated as we approach this moon. So that's something to be mindful of. And Gemini is a sign of communication, right? So we want to make sure that we communicate well, that we don't let our anger or frustration get the better of us on this moon. So that's something to consider as well. So in a nutshell, so far, I would say that it's been a slightly frustrating, restrictive, limiting sort of energy up until the full moon. The build up, the past 4-5 days up to this moon have been quite restrictive and limited, and may not have felt the best either, because when we feel restricted, when we feel limited, when we have this energy of I want to go, I want to start, I want to do this, but something saying no, not yet, that's not fun, right? So we've been in that, and now it's on the decline on this moon. The next thing I want to speak about is Mercury. Mercury rules the sign of Gemini. Mercury is here, right? It rules the sign of Gemini along with Virgo. It rules Virgo as well. And Mercury here is in Sag, where it really does not like to be, because Mercury is the little details, it's the finer things, the fine print, right? That's Mercury, the little things. And Sag is a Jupiter-ruled energy. It's about big things, it's about expansion, it's about the big picture, not the details. So Mercury feels a little lost in Sag, and it's in Sag, not the best place for it. And it is squaring Neptune. Right, it's about to square Neptune exact very soon, and Neptune can bring confusion, Neptune can bring delusions, Neptune can bring this feeling of I don't know what to do, right? I'm so confused, I'm not able to figure it out, I'm not able to see things clearly. So on this moon, there can be this feeling of not being able to see things clearly, not being able to see things clearly. Yeah, that's the main thing, not being able to see past the confusion, because Mercury denotes our mind, right? It denotes our logical thinking, and with an aspect to Neptune, the most non-logical planet, it's the spiritual world, right? It does not work on logic. This can really slow down our logical faculties, and since this full moon is in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, it does have an impact on that. So for this aspect, I would say if you're really trying to figure things out and find that solution or get to the bottom of things, maybe waiting it out might be a better option, right? Because there is this aspect confusing us, but don't worry, because Mercury is going to move on and we'll be done with this aspect in the next couple of days. So just wait it out, sit on that feeling. Another way to deal with Neptune is to really go deep within and work from your intuitive self, work from your gut rather than your logical mind. So that's also happening on this moon. And speaking of Mercury, Mercury is in its shadow right now, right? So Mercury will go retrograde on December 13th. So a few days from now, and Right now, it's covering the area it's going to retrograde over. So pay attention to the communication, the emails, the tech, all these things in your life, right? And other little things as well, because these will come up for review when Mercury goes retrograde on December 13th. Mercury is also making another aspect, and that is a trine to Rahu. Right, let me clean up the chart and then we'll talk about that. So this is the North Node, Rahu, right? And Mercury is at 24 Sag. The North Node is at 24 Aries. They're in a trine, positive aspect. Rahu in astrology expands things. It's the future. It's where we are headed. But Rahu is also something that is, in Vedic astrology, it's unconventional, right? It brings about ideas, it's progressive, it's futuristic, and it is trining Mercury. So this can be a good placement for ideas. This can be a good placement for epiphanies, thoughts that are unconventional ideas, unconventional ways of doing things, unconventional ways of communicating or speaking, that sort of thing. Overall, it's a positive aspect. So that's also going on the moon. The next thing I want to speak about is, hang on. We also have Saturn here making a 45-degree angle with Chiron. They're in a semi-square, right? Saturn is what I told you guys. It's decisions, commitments, hard work, discipline, dedication, persistence. And Chiron is our wound. We all have wounds somewhere. We all feel pain somewhere. Chiron denotes our deepest wound. But Chiron is also that placement where we heal ourselves, right? And when we heal ourselves, we're able to heal others and teach others what we have learned and how we have healed ourselves. Because Chiron heals himself, right? That's the main thing. Self-healing with Chiron. And in a semi-square with Saturn, this might bring up some of our triggers. This might bring up some of our wounds. This might bring up a feeling of feeling slightly like, why is this happening to me? Or, just feeling a little questioning, right? Questioning, why is this happening to me? That sort of thing. But this too shall pass, right? And we just have to work through those feelings and find that trigger point and work on ourselves to heal ourselves. So that's that. And a few more things before we wrap this up, right? Because there's a lot to talk about and it's hard to fit everything into a 15-minute video twice a month. So let me just go through this and then we'll see. So let's see. Next thing I want to speak about is Pluto here, Rahu, Ketu, right? Squaring both of these. We've been talking about this and this aspect has been on since July of this year, right? July, it was extremely intense. Pluto square the nodes and this denotes transformation. And although the exact square is over now, they are still in a square. They're still in an aspect. They're still in a close aspect. 4 degrees, right? 4-degree difference. And what that means is the transformation that started July of this year is still on. We are still figuring it out. We are still changing. We are still evolving, growing, ending things, beginning things. We are figuring it out. It's not done with. It started then, it peaked in July, end July, but it's still on. So we are in transformative times. We are in changing times. We are in times where things are ending, things are beginning. And it's not over yet, right? It's not over yet. So that's where we are. And again, coming back to Saturn, like I said in the beginning of this video, Saturn is at 0 degrees of Pisces, where it was March, April of this year, right? March, because it entered the sign of Pisces in March. And what this can mean is maybe things are coming back up from March, right? And over the next 2.5 years or so, it is going to go through the sign of Pisces. Till now, we've got certain glimpses of what Saturn and Pisces energy is all about. But over the next 2.5 years, we'll really start to see what those things are, the glimpses we've seen in the past few months, Saturn in Pisces is going to bring endings. It's going to bring closures. It's going to close a whole cycle of 30 years over the next 2.5 years. And by Jan of 2024, Pluto will also enter Aquarius, where it did enter Aquarius March of this year, but then it retrograded back into Capricorn. Now it's back in Capricorn, and it's been here in Capricorn since 2008. So for a couple of months, March, April, around then, with Pluto in Aquarius and Saturn in Pisces, we got glimpses of what these two energies are going to bring, right, over the next few years. And in Jan, Pluto will enter Aquarius, and we'll see more and more of what Pluto in Aquarius has to bring for us. But it will still retrograde back into Capricorn once more before finally moving into Aquarius and almost end of next year, and then it will stay there for a long time. So that's what's happening with these slow moving energies. And Saturn in Pisces is about endings and closures and ending a past 20-30 year cycle, but it is also about digging really deep into our subconscious, right, clearing out whatever psychological burdens we have. And Pluto in Aquarius is about tech, right? Like, we've seen Saturn in Aquarius from 2020 to 2023, right? 3 years, a lot of tech, a lot about the internet, a lot of things moving online, that sort of thing, because Aquarius is tech, Aquarius is the internet, Aquarius is these things. And now with Pluto moving in the next few decades, we are going to see a lot of tech, we're going to see a lot of innovation, we're going to see a lot of futuristic things with Pluto in Aquarius coming, happening in the next few months. So that's something I wanted to mention, and let's see what else is going on. So Venus here is sitting with the South Node. This is Venus, this is the South Node. The South Node denotes the past. It's our karmic patterns from the past. It's what our soul is very experienced at. The South Node, Ketu, can also bring detachment, separation, these sort of things, and it's sitting next to Venus. Venus is a lot of things, right? Venus is extremely important because Venus covers all the important things that impact a lot of us, right? It's finances, it's how we look, it's our appearances, it's luxury, it's our skills, it's our relationships, right? So Venus is extremely important, and it's sitting next to Ketu, right? The one that is detached, the one that is very much about the spiritual world. It's not about the material world. So here is a point where we might be asked to ask ourselves, what are we wanting to detach from, right? Is there something we want to detach from? Is it a business? Is it a project? Is it a person? Is it a relationship? What is it? So this can bring that questioning, right? Or the need to detach from something Venus related. So that's also happening on this moon. And let's see what else is going to go on. One sec. Okay, so I think that covers a lot of what I had wanted to speak about. And to sum it up, this one's about decisions, this one's about commitments, this one's about planning, working hard, being persistent, being dedicated. But at this point on the full moon, we've done most of the work, right? Past 5-6 days, we did a lot of the deciding. We felt limited, we felt restricted. So on this moon, things will start to maybe feel a little easier. There is confusion, however. So although there is this decision that we might have already taken, there can be some doubts about it, there can be some confusion, and the best thing is to go with your gut or wait it out, because the energy will pass. And the next, we are going to see Mercury retrograde 13th December. So that's something we are building up to. We also have the new moon in Sagittarius at 20 degrees on December 12th, right? And Neptune will go direct on December 6th. So when Neptune goes direct, we'll have a lot of planets direct, then one more planet direct actually. Pluto direct, Saturn direct. We have all the personal planets direct right now. And on December 6th, Neptune will also go direct, but we still have Uranus, Jupiter retrograde, and 13th December, Mercury will also retrograde. So that's what we are building up to. And the last moon, I did not put out a video. That was the new moon in Scorpio. And that new moon in Scorpio was almost in an exact opposition to Uranus, right? And things were a little strange back then. And I think that's the first time I didn't put out a moon video since I started YouTube. So yeah, so that was just a lot of the Uranus energy and a lot of little things going on at that point. I also have my Pluto at 21 degrees of Scorpio. So Uranus is opposing it. It's moving back and forth, that 21 degree point. So that's that. And I will make the next moon video, the new moon in Sagittarius. And I hope this video was useful, and I will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.